So, the subject today is I can't complain, literally. And the reason why I say I can't complain literally is because I'm wearing this purple bracelet right now. It's for a program called A Complaint Free World. And it's based off of this book that I'm reading with a lot of other folks in the community that I'm serving. Here's the book, Complaint Free World by Will Bowen. And the way it works is you wear this bracelet, and then every time you complain, you have to switch the bracelet to another arm. Every time you complain out loud, I should say. And the goal is to not complain for 21 days straight. So I've been doing this probably for about, I don't know how many days it's been, maybe 25. And I'm on day two because every time you complain, you have to start over. And what's interesting to me is there used to be a time where I was not a complainer. I didn't complain, I didn't gossip. If people complained to me, I would know that I wasn't really into complaining, and I definitely wasn't into gossip. Like if somebody started telling me somebody else's business, I would say, listen, that's not my business. I don't need to hear that. And for years, people thought I was boring because of it. They would say, "I just want to tell you," and I say, "I don't need to know. I don't need to hear. I'm not interested. If that person wants me to know, they can tell me themselves." And also, like I didn't care about like I can keep secrets, and if somebody wanted to tell me somebody else's secret, I would say, "Man, don't share that person's secret with me. They trusted you. Just live into their trust, and don't share." But I have found that a lot of people love to complain, gossip, and tell other people's secrets as a form of social currency. And I've spoken to people many, many times saying that there are a lot of different currencies in the world. Cash is not the only currency or digital currency or whatever. There are many currencies. Some of them are gossip, you know. There's like I said, secrets before or a type of currency, being nice, being weak. Like there's a lot of different ways that we basically have energetic exchanges that flow us through life. And sometimes money is the main one that we think about, but it definitely isn't the only one because we all know that there are different ways that people gain things and receive things and transmit things that aren't limited to money. Money is just a facilitator of energetic transfer. So if you have money, it's easier to do some things and to make some exchanges. But you could just like I'll say for example, rewards points. Like I've done a bunch of stuff on rewards points and like when I met my wife, I wasn't even into rewards points. Like I didn't even want to sign up for any rewards programs because I was like, yo, that's just their way of incentivizing you to buy things that you wouldn't normally buy. So then you feel like, well, wow, it's worth it because I got these points, you know. But my wife loves rewards, boy. And I'm gonna tell you the truth. I have done a lot of things in life I would not have done because this woman gets thousands and thousands and thousands of points for like I don't even know what. Like right now, I'm staying in a hotel on points. Like, and it's like everything is like she's just like points, points, points. But that's a type of exchange. It's not real, you know. It's just a form of exchange, and there's just so many different ways that we do energetic exchange. And again, money is just one of them. And so as I was saying, complaining is one of them, gossiping is one of them. Those are actual energetic exchanges. But in this book that we're studying at Unity Columbine Spiritual Center, A Complaint Free World, we have to, but the way it's set up is you try your best to go without complaining for 21 days because it ends up setting up a habit of not complaining. And it's just very interesting to me because I thought this was going to be easy because I had the habit of not complaining for years upon years upon years. I got it from the Bible. But I've noticed that over the past few years, maybe even more than a few years, because I'm not really sure because I've just been doing this book program for like a month or whatever I've been doing it for. Um, but I've learned that now I definitely complain more than I know I did historically, because literally people used to not even want to hang out with me because they knew that if they tried to complain or say gossip to me, I wouldn't even say it's hot out. That's how I used to be when I was younger. And it's funny because it's almost like looking at the way I used to be through the lens of this book. And it's not just with this, it's so many things right now that I'm experiencing, almost like Pedro Silva, This Is Your Life. And so many things that I used to keep in within myself are now coming to me from without myself, and I'm revisiting them again. It's very strange, like me studying Unity teachings, me doing this complaint-free world, Cape Verde making it to the World Cup, even Nolan Wells getting killed in Ocean Springs, where I used to go get my tater nut donuts. Like all of these things that I have intimacy with, that I'm reconnecting with, are calling me back to me and giving me a chance to evaluate myself externally. And it's a very strange experience, but nothing is as strange as this complaint-free world one. Because I actually made it for about 7 or 8 days, and I was like, "Uh-oh, I'm doing great. I'm on track now. I might be make it to 21." And in the book, it says it takes 4 to 8 months to get to 21 days. But then I went to Massachusetts, and all I can say is my day one in Massachusetts was my day one again on Complete Free World. A statement of fact. I went backwards the first day I got back to Massachusetts. And then the second day I went back to day one. And the third day I went back to day one. And the fourth day I went back to day one. And I started thinking to myself, I think that habit that I once had of not being a complainer and things like that ended when I moved to Massachusetts in 2006. Because, man, I don't say when I first got to Massachusetts, but when I first got there, I was like, "What in the world is this place where everyone is mad all the time, complaining all the time, cussing all the time?" And just a very interesting environment to try to be a complaint-free person. And eventually, I started to participate in the social currency of complaining a little bit here and there. And I had a friend who is a really wealthy dude, and he also didn't believe in complaining. And he and I were really close for a while. We're not anymore, but we were close for a while. And he didn't complain. But he told me that he knows that with some people, you have to do a little bit of a complaint in order for them to feel comfortable around you. So, like, whenever he talked to his sister, she would be like, "How you doing?" And she was a chronic complainer, so he would always have his complaints ready, but it was just for a social exchange with his sister. So he go, "Oh man, I got a little cold, and man, the weather." And he would just say something like that, and his sister would be like, "I know, right?" And then she would just take off with complaining, complaining, complaining. And he didn't have to do anymore. He just had to give her a little bit, and then she would go running with it. And I used to think that was hilarious. And I had another buddy. He used to be a painter, and he told me that he can't do a perfect job on painting people's houses because they always look for something to complain about. So he would on purpose not paint different spots. He would leave like little spots here and there so that the customer could go around and point them out. And then he would cover them up and go, "Oh man, I'm sorry, I must have got distracted." And then he'd paint it, and then he would cover it up. And then they'd be like, "All right, other than that, this is a really good job." And he had to incorporate making patches of paint that wasn't covered for the sake of his customers so they would complain. And I used to laugh at that. But now, as I participate in the complaint free world and thinking about like the relational sustainment that I've had with some people over the years who all have that complaining trait, I've realized that I have developed the capacity to use that social currency. But I mostly just use it when I'm around people that do it. And I'll try not to do it a lot, but then I can tell, like, oh, if I keep being zen and peaceful, they're gonna think something's off. Let me just like say a little something. And then I'll be like, and they'll be like, I mean, it's not like it'll be a true thing, but in the past, I wouldn't even say I had a headache if I had a headache. That's how I used to be. I was like very extreme with my non-complaining. And now, as I kind of navigate this book and knowing I'm doing it in the community and things like that, and being truly curious about getting back to 21 days, I find myself thinking, wow, I wonder if I'm going to lose relationships that I've sustained over the years if I don't participate in the currency in some kind of way. And it's not just for little things, it's also for big things. Because there's a lot of things in the news that are very disturbing that if you don't sound like you're complaining about them, people think you don't care. And even back in the day, I cared, but I didn't think that my complaining was going to make it better. So I used to think, and I'm almost getting back to this, I'm not there yet. I used to think that the biggest contribution that I could be was to not be a part of the problem. So whenever I witnessed something in the world that I thought shouldn't be, I would then um, clear something inside of myself and do everything inside of myself to try not to show up as a person that would contribute in any way to the drama and the trauma and all the things in the world. Even if it was one drop, that's the way I used to think about it. I used to tell people, like, they would say, well, why are you like this? And I say, well, you can fill a bathtub up one drop at a time. It might take longer, but eventually it's going to fill up too. Or you could just, gush the water into it. So I feel like if I even add a drop to this thing that we're making, this mess, this, whatever we're creating, even if I add a drop, I might as well add the whole thing. So I just don't want to add even a drop to it. So I'd rather just, be off by myself and meditate or pray. But it wasn't very good for sustaining human relationships. And so I had to ask myself, because like recently with this complaint free world thing, I had some people telling me stuff, and I was saying like, hey, I'm doing this thing. I can't really participate in this right now. And then they would be like, ugh, you know, and I would be like, what in the world? Like, it's a very strange thing, but I am going to do my best. I love having this thing, and even I got to a point where I was saying I look forward to day one again because I knew because I was on day one every day anyway. I made it like sometimes 2 days, then back to day one, and 3 days back to one, then almost 8 days, then back to day one. But I started laughing about it and being like, oh, time to switch the bracelet, and it started becoming kind of funny. But I really want to get there, but I also realize that if I get there, my life is probably going to change a lot, and it's people that I won't really be able to engage with and might not be able to talk to. And I've already been letting people go over the past couple of years because of some other things that are been happening in the world that I just can't um, participate in. Trying to say this without complaining, participate in certain engagements with people when I can clearly see that what they say and what they do don't match. I don't know if that's the best way to say it. I'm trying my best not to say it. And the things that they argue for, but then violate. I couldn't hang with that inconsistency, so I had to drop a lot of people. But now with the complaint-free world, I'm like, wow, will I have to drop more? Not only be like trying to control people whether they complain or not, but just to control my own inner world, because I would like to return to a inner state, um, an effortless inner state of just being present with what is, loving what is, to borrow from Byron Katie, to be able to just witness things and transmit as much love as I can transmit. And it's like a everyday thing. It's like I feel like I'm like Rocky, who like hadn't fought in like 10 years, but now it feels like he's got to fight. So now he's got to catch up with all the stuff he hasn't done in a long time. I don't know if that's a good analogy, but that's what I feel. I've been like reading all these books for my Unity training. Some of the chapters I've read multiple times, plus Complaint Free World. Plus, I actually was reading Loving What Is by Byron Katie, and this book called Three Lessons of the Ego or something like that. I've been doing all this stuff, and I just been like every time I'm not engaged with somebody, it's loud out here. I'm on a street corner. Every time I'm not engaging with someone human, I'm trying to engage with the kind of thoughts that I want to fill my mind. And I want my mind to be so filled with those thoughts that there's no room for anything else. So that's basically where I am right now. So I can't complain, literally. I'm going to continue to work on this complaint free world, um, continue to witness the shifts that I've made, positive and negative, over the years, and do my best to stay present, stay clear, bear witness to love. Because underneath all of this, which some of the things that are said in this book, Complaint Free World, um, is that there's so much more good happening than what we see, and so many more things work out, and there's so many more miracles and so many more beautiful things. And it doesn't mean to ignore those harmful things, because my heart keeps going back to Nolan Wells, particularly because I can see the place in my mind, because I lived there. I can see the place where he lived. I can see his community. His community, when I lived in Mississippi, was my like safe place. Sadly, I haven't named that, but his community was where I used to go. Oh, hey, yep, hey, Ann, yep, giving it your best is success. Thank you. That's true. Yeah, I used to go there and hang out in this spiritual bookstore because I was undercover spiritual woo woo, but I was like hanging out with the fundamentalist Christians. But I really was into some more like, I was more into expanded consciousness, but I just didn't know a lot of places. So Ocean Springs had a bookstore, and I used to go there. And sometimes I wouldn't even read anything. I just hang out and talk to the lady who owned it. And then I used to go get these donuts in his neighborhood. This place called Tater Nut. So it's like I can imagine the place, and I've said in another video, it was the Boulder, Colorado of Mississippi. And I used to think, like, if I ever moved back from Mississippi for some strange reason, I would live in Ocean Springs, because it would be a little enclave and stuff like that. So it brings up some stuff. But even with that, I think there's a way of being a contribution without complaining, and that's the effort I'm trying to make. So I guess that's about it for this video. Trying to send the love, trying not to complain, being grateful, being receptive. I've had a couple of miracles that happened in the past few days, um, of as a result, I think, of letting go. One in particular, I'll tell you this. I woke up in the morning, I fly standby because of my wife's benefits. And I got up in the morning, and I had this feeling. I said to the universe, or God, or however you want to put it, I said I wouldn't mind flying in the first class. And I saw in my mind that first class became an option, but it was only one seat between me and my wife. And my wife would obviously have to let me have the seat, and she would have to go be in the coach. And I saw that in my mind, and then I thought to myself, well, if that happened, I wouldn't take the first class seat, because it's her flight benefits. I would just, which has happened before, where I sat in the back and then she sat in the first class. But and I was like, so I can't just take it. And then something in my being said, Pedro, yes you can. If she lets you take it, just take it and allow yourself to receive it, and allow her to give it. And when it happened, it happened. And when it happened, and she said that I could take it, at first I was like, nah, you take it. First I was like, okay, I'll take it. Then I said no. I started feeling feelings, and I said, nah, you take it, because I don't want later it to be some kind of feelings. But she was like, nah, you take it. I want you to have it, which is sweet of her. And I took it, and it was nice. And it opened me up to some other stuff. And then another thing happened I won't get into, where somebody wanted to do something nice for me out of nowhere, and I was just like, wow. And I received that too. Experiences that I wouldn't have had with currency. I don't have the paper currency to have this experience. So, but I had these two really extreme experiences as if I had some money. Even staying in the hotel I'm staying in off of points, so my wife got all these points somehow. And so it's like all of that was just stuff that I was on the receiving end of. And I feel like a part of it was because of the effort that I'm doing to try to be complaint free and just be receptive. And it just happened. And that used to be my life on a regular basis, to tell you the truth. I used to have so many miraculous things happen when I was like just living my life, trying to be a contribution, not complaining, and things would just happen for me, just like miraculous one after the other. Um, but the problem, or the challenge was I couldn't share it with other people because they weren't willing to go complaint free and to just witness things and to not judge everything. And I could tell them with words, but it didn't mean anything. And then somehow I lost track of it. But the universe, in its miraculous way, is bringing it back into my life and having me reflect. So I'm really grateful for that and looking forward to what's going to show up next and sharing that with people and attracting more and more people into my life who can enjoy um, being a contribution without being always in complaint. And also knowing that there are times to complain, but when you do, making sure that the complaint matches the situation and that it's not taking a mountain, making a mountain out of molehill, which I think we do way too much of in our society. Let mountains be mountains, let molehills be molehills. They both exist for a reason. And discernment is being able to tell the difference. So with that, mwah, peace, love, and all the things. And until next. And I've been writing a lot of stuff. I was on the plane writing for like 4 hours for Substack, but I just like I can't get myself to publish stuff unless I feel like it's really processed. And when I make these videos, a lot of times it's because I haven't published anything in a while, or I'm willing to learn as I go and allow myself to hear what I'm saying and reflect on it more. So hopefully, people who do watch this get something out of it. And with that, wishing you the best.